Horrible news for Ferrari. It seems like Ferrari has managed to find itself in trouble yet again, as the Maranello-based team is looking to face some serious problems ahead of the new season. While 2026 is far away, the Italian team is facing lots of issues regarding their engines, and when it comes to the new season, they have parted ways with two of their major sponsors, losing a massive amount of money. This is by no means a welcome sight for Ferrari, and it seems that they'll start 2023 a lot worse than we originally hoped for. Ferrari is attempting to address one of the major issues for the 2023 season, such as engine reliability and team tactic blunders. While they hired a new team principal for these things, it seems like they haven't really gotten a grasp of the 2026 version of the engines, something that will haunt them when the time comes. Before we go on to the 2023 version of Ferrari's problems, let's see what one of the biggest problems that Ferrari will face in 2026 is. As of now, as you already know, there is an engine freeze that is taking place until the end of the 2025 season. However, with Audi entering the sport, the teams were supposed to sign a contract for the 2026 season regarding them being engine suppliers for the new technical regulations. It's worth noting that the V6 era is the longest running, thanks in part to COVID restrictions and Mercedes' desire to keep the engines that won them 8 consecutive Constructors' Championships. Nevertheless, that is bound to change from 2026 on, and while everyone is desperately waiting for Ferrari to win races yet again, it seems like the Maranello team isn't happy with the treatment that one particular team is receiving on the grid, and that is Red Bull. The Austrian team is currently racing with their own powertrains, but they are borrowing the intellectual property from Honda. That is why the entrance of Red Bull powertrains will see daylight in 2026, when the Austrian team and the Japanese manufacturer are supposed to cut ties once and for all. This is something that does not sit well with Ferrari, because they believe that Red Bull is far from a newbie in the engine manufacturing business when 2026 comes, and they should be treated the same way as Mercedes, Ferrari and Alpine. Audi, on the other hand, has no F1 experience, and they are likely to receive preferential treatment from the sport, something that Ferrari justifies for the German manufacturer, but not for the Austrian. Horner and Red Bull defended their own positions, adding that racing a car is far different from developing an engine and then mounting it successfully on an F1 car. While Red Bull and Honda clicked immediately once their collaboration started, one couldn't help but notice that Ferrari's statements are justified, and Red Bull will enter the 2026 season as a team that will have knowledge on how to develop F1 engines rather than just borrow one from other competitors. Horner defended the team further, speaking, "The deadlines were extended, but there's an awful lot of discussion about governance and tidying up some of the technical regs and obviously financial regs as well. As a newcomer for 2026, Red Bull Powertrains has entered. It's an exciting moment for the group, for the company, a new challenge to take on, and a lot to do between now and 2026. Red Bull is clearly the favorite to win it all until the beginning of the 2026 season, simply because they built a rocket ship that is very hard to battle against. On top of that, they understood the ground floor effects of the new regulations, and while the engine change in 2026 is supposed to shake up the grid a bit, we can't see anything changing until then. But with Ferrari not agreeing with the treatment of Red Bull and their powertrains division, they've missed out on signing a contract for the 2026 regulations. This would eventually imply that they are barred from attending a meeting held on December 15th last year, simply because they missed the extended deadline of late November to sign. With that being said, Ferrari is already in trouble for the 2026 engines, and rest assured that they could get further down the grid much sooner than one would originally anticipate. But this is for the future, and now it seems like Ferrari is facing much bigger problems when it comes to the next season. We all know that Velas, a digital cryptocurrency, and Snapdragon were two of Ferrari's major sponsors, and now the company has severed ties with both of them. The reason for this, regarding the collaboration with Velas, is that Ferrari believes that the digital cryptocurrency has entered into a financial breach, while Velas has accused Ferrari of not complying with clauses that permit them to create NFT images. Legal action is being contemplated by both sides, which would see Ferrari facing even more issues for the upcoming season. On top of that, Ferrari has cut ties with the semiconductor company Snapdragon, with this company and Velas both being labeled as premium premium sponsors of the Scuderia. One couldn't help but notice that the cryptocurrencies that are involved in the sport are slowly but surely starting to fall like dominoes, with Mercedes experiencing the same issue with FTX. This digital cryptocurrency has announced bankruptcy, owing Mercedes an estimated amount of $15 million. However, it seems like Ferrari and Snapdragon's cut of ties was reportedly mutual, with both sides agreeing that enough is enough, and now Snapdragon is left to look for another team that they will sponsor from the next season on. The CEO of Ferrari, Benedetto Vigna, joined the company in July 2021 from semiconductor rival ST Micro, but it's very unclear whether these two sides are somehow connected to this whole story. So the terrible news for Ferrari is that they are facing a hole of $55 million in total. The Velas contract brought around $30 million to Ferrari, while the Snapdragon one brought around $25 million in terms of cash and technical support. And together, these two brands brought in around a quarter of the Scuderia's commercial income. It's a huge sum that Ferrari has to battle for the upcoming season, and now that they've finally gotten the chance to not just be competitive but also win the championship in 2023 with the new design of the car and the new upgrades of their car, this is the last thing they need. The car reveal for Ferrari is supposed to happen on Valentine's Day, the 14th of February, and it seems like the Maranello team understood the issues that caused them so much pain in 2022, apart from the tactic blunders. Now the team is fitting a new gearbox, which would see the body shell undergo some changes in order to fit the gearbox. Why a new gearbox, you may ask yourself? Well, the answer is simple, and that's because Ferrari's engine is supposed to be 30 horsepower more powerful compared to the 2022 version of it, meaning that the gearbox would have to endure more power in 2023. And it seems like the experts' opinion is heavily on the side of Ferrari, with David Coulthard believing that the fresh energy the team has brought in the new season and the upgrades of the car will make them championship candidates right off the gate. When talking about this matter, Coulthard added, "I believe in Ferrari, not in the mystique but in the lap time. They've had the qualifying World Championship 2022 and their car has been exceptional. Charlo was their lead driver for the majority of the year in terms of being able to exploit that performance, and I do feel the car has been coming stronger towards the end of the year." One huge problem that Ferrari would have to face is the new leadership, or more precisely, determining the number one lead driver of the car. This is something that Vasseur has implied would happen in the following period, because every team that has won championships has had a lead driver, and one that is definitely the number two choice. Up until this point, Binotto believed that every driver should be given an equal chance to fight, which is why Sainz was able to beat Leclerc in 2021, and Leclerc was able to beat Sainz in the following season. But given how close Leclerc is to the new leader of the team, as well as the close relationship between Leclerc's manager, Todt, and Vasseur, it's very obvious that Ferrari will force Leclerc to be the lead driver in 2023. This would eventually mean that Sainz's dissatisfaction will start to grow more and more. The Spaniard is the last one that will obey team orders and will just sit in the back and listen to what the team has to say to him. With that being said, it's going to be a very interesting period ahead of us, and we are yet to see whether Ferrari can turn the clock back and finally win a championship for the first time since 2007. Right now, the cards that they have in their hands are not looking good, but time will tell whether they'll recover from the recent shock. What do you think about Ferrari and their chances in 2023? Let us know in the comments below.